But if this was a dog, how would you feel if there was a dog in there? A lot worse. Why a lot worse?
Because
you have a dog tonight. What would you say? Or would you go, no, I can't eat the dog?
to be honest, I'd probably.
You probably would.
Yeah.
Really? Really? What's your name again?
James.
James, nice to meet you, James. So I'm Melissa and this is Steve. And on the front of the table it says, what does it say?
Dairy industry kills babies.
The dairy industry kills babies, changed my mind. What's your thoughts on that? Maybe
I didn't really think of much before I came in here, but
okay. Are you aware of what happens in the dairy industry?
Not particularly, no. So
can I show you what happens?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah? All right. So this is just a short video of what happens.
Yeah, that's cool.
So it all starts with forcible impregnation.
Okay.
And this is what you see where the farmer puts on this really long glove and he'll put his arm inside of the cow's like bum, hold her cervix and inject her with bull semen.
Okay.
So this is the first process because a cow only produces milk because she is a mum.
Yep.
I got to the age of 26 thinking a cow produces milk because she eats grass. I didn't know she had to be a mum. And then after 9 months of carrying her baby, she gives birth. If she gives birth to a boy, the farmer will come and take the boy like this. So it's called snatching. And he will then be taken to a slaughterhouse to be killed or put into a box and fattened up for veal. After 5 months, he'll still be killed. And you see like the mums will try and run after her baby after being put into here. See her there because they're very maternal, just like we are.
Yep. Not lots of people like survive off the industry.
Well, you don't need to survive off like breast milk because the breast milk is intended for her baby. We as humans don't need to be drinking the breast milk from another species.
Yeah, fair enough.
So yeah, this is the slaughter process now. So this is where the boys go. And this is why the sign says the dairy industry kills babies because all the boys get killed.
Oh, okay.
If they are female, they get taken away from the mum still and put into like solitary confinement, and then they get put into the dairy industry where they'll be forcibly impregnated like you saw, have baby taken away again and again. How does it make you feel when you see this?
I mean, not great.
Yeah.
I mean,
Have you ever seen this before?
not particularly, no.
No.
No, it's quite.
Would you say that you're against animal abuse yourself?
I mean, looking at these kind of videos, I would say that, but I'm not sure. My view's always been kind of quite even, but now seeing this, it's kind of changing.
So now your eyes are kind of opening. So this is what happens to the mothers. In the dairy industry, they'll have baby after baby taken away, be forcibly impregnated again and again. When she can no longer stand up or her milk production declines, they call her a spent dairy cow.
Okay.
And this is where she's taken. She's also taken to a slaughterhouse.
Are they used for meat after? Because
Used for beef. Used for meat, sorry, yeah. This is actually the part that turned me vegan. You'll see in a minute. How old do you think a cow should naturally live for?
well, did you say they're 26 years? Oh, so what do you mean, like wild? Or?
Yeah, like their natural lifespan.
Well, I suppose it's probably shorter in the, or is it longer? I don't know.
So a cow should naturally live for about 30 years.
Okay.
In the dairy industry, they're killed around 5 years.
Oh, okay.
And
quite a lot younger.
Yeah. So this is the part. So they call this humane. This is RSPCA approved, standard practice. They said all this for a piece of cheese. This is the moment that just broke me and my husband. We went vegan on the spot and we were like, oh my gosh, because I had no idea. I just didn't know.
Would you say a lot of farmers like, because obviously if they didn't have these, the cattle and if they didn't sell these products, I'm not really sure how would you say they'd be able to find a living doing other things?
Yeah. So there's organisations that actually help farmers transition.
Oh.
But we're here, so the only reason like this exists is because people pay for it to happen.
Yeah.
So the farmers are, because people are demanding animal products, they're then providing that. But if this was a dog, how would you feel if there was a dog in there? A lot worse. Why a lot worse?
Because I don't really see cows as being as, it's almost like...
Cows as what, sorry?
I don't feel that cows, in my mind, are as, not say sentient, or
Do you think they're sentient?
No, I don't know. It's just I've been brought up around cats and dogs and
Yeah.
those
So,
kind of things.
so
It's
in
like
your
when's the
culture,
lion? Yeah.
in your culture, you've been taught to love dogs and cats, but then
Yeah.
eat like pigs and cows and chickens.
Yeah.
What's the moral difference between a dog and a pig?
I mean, in China, do they eat cats and dogs?
They eat dogs, yeah.
Yeah.
And when I wasn't vegan, I used to eat pigs and things. I used to think Chinese were crazy for doing that, but it's their culture. It's normal for them to do
Yeah,
that.
fair enough.
But do you think culture determines what is moral?
I'm not really sure, to be honest.
No. So in some cultures,
Have to have a good think about it.
yeah, have a look at it. But some cultures, it's normal for. I don't know, at one point like slavery, or they treat women differently and things like that. Do you think it's moral just because it's culturally accepted?
No, I wouldn't say so. But
No.
would you say that, for instance, if you've been brought up in a certain way of living, so for instance, I don't know, if you've been brought up in a certain way of living, and if we view it as wrong and they view it as it's just the way they've been brought up, would you
Yeah.
say that's, I don't know,
So
wrong,
for me,
or-
culture doesn't determine if it's moral or not. So like when I see what happens inside of a slaughterhouse, I was taught, my culture taught me like you can eat animals, pigs, chickens, dolphins. Not dolphins, dogs, and things like that. But when you look at the individual, we're no different. Like at one point, people treated people differently purely on the way they looked, and that was acceptable. That was legal and acceptable to have like slavery and things like that. This is a form of slavery too. This is exploitation, and ultimately all the animals are murdered, and I wouldn't say that's ever acceptable.
I mean, I wouldn't say any of this is acceptable, but would you say that it's such a large industry that if the market wasn't there, that it would affect lots of lives in a negative way?
Well, you say human lives, but do you think you need to eat meat, eggs, dairy, and fish to survive?
No, I wouldn't say
No.
so. But
So no one would die if this wasn't around. But the thing with what's happening to these animals, 80 billion animals a year are bred into existence purely to be used and killed. So it's 80 billion animals.
I mean, personally, I think I value human life over animal life, of course. But
But even if you value someone, like I value, I don't know, someone I love maybe
Yeah.
over someone I don't
Yeah.
know, I still wouldn't kill them because I don't need to. Like you said, we don't need to eat meat, eggs, dairy, and fish.
yeah, I see all your points.
And
They're
we're
all
choosing between
decent.
either not killing this 6-month-old pig in a gas chamber for a bacon sandwich, or I'll just move my hand and get a vegan bacon sandwich. You see what I mean?
Yeah, I see. So
Now you've seen this footage, so this is a gas chamber. At 6 months old, they put pigs into a gas chamber in the UK.
is that how they're slaughtered?
Yeah, this is their way of like stunning them because pigs are really strong animals, so they wouldn't just be able to maneuver them. You see them struggling in there. They call this humane. What do you think when you see that?
I mean, not great.
No.
Not very humane, in my opinion.
Do you think a bacon sandwich justifies what's going on with them?
You know,
The suffering?
No, obviously not.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't really have any points against the argument. So
Yeah.
It all seems pretty.
Yeah.
Points you're making.
Well,
seem
then
pretty
what would
decent.
do you currently eat animals?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what would stop you then if you've got nothing against, like no points against it, or kind of have an argument against it? What would stop you from just going vegan and not paying for this ever again?
How much is the price difference from? Would
Do
you
you
say it's
think-
a lot more expensive to go vegetarian
So not vegetarian,
or
vegetarian.
vegan? Sorry.
Yeah, so veganism is a moral stance against animal abuse, right?
Okay.
So it's a non-action. You just don't pay for animals to be killed. That every time I pay for an animal product, I pay for an animal to suffer and be killed. I didn't know when I went vegan if it would be expensive or not. I just knew ethically I was against it.
Yeah.
Luckily, it's like it could be as expensive or as cheap as you want. Like the cheapest foods in the supermarket are vegan, and the most expensive ones are like for like anyway. But even if they were more expensive, do you think that's still a justification to pay for this?
I mean, no, but
Yeah.
I'm not the one in my household. I'm not the one providing food. So
Right? Yeah.
I doubt my family's gonna change their view on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
You say that, but you seem like a really compassionate person, and I'm sure you come from a compassionate family. And if they brought dog and cooked dog, would you eat the dog?
if I was in China,
But
yeah,
if you're in the
or-
UK, like tonight, if your mum was like, "Oh, we're going to have dog tonight," what would you say? Or would you go, "No, I can't eat the dog"?
To be honest, I'd probably,
You probably would.
yeah.
Really? Really? I don't know if I believe you. Or would you
I don't know,
stand
I-
up for the dog? Would you stand up for the dog and say, "Mum, actually, did you know that dogs are killed in a gas chamber? Do you know that their throat has to be slit? Do you know they're only 6 months old?" Like, once your family actually probably see what happens, they probably too will go, "This is wrong. There's no justification for this." But we've been brought into a world where they've conditioned us to pay for this, but not show us the truth, right?
I mean, I think if there was a lot more, like what you guys are doing here, if there was a lot more of these kind of places to kind of talk about it,
Yeah.
like you're doing, I think it would change a lot of minds in
Yeah.
a positive aspect.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's why we're here, because I've always been against animal abuse, always. I would save like a pigeon from this who's been hit by a car, but then I'd go home and eat a chicken burger.
Yeah.
But I just didn't know. I'd hardly even thought that was a chicken, weirdly. But that chicken was 42 days old, who had been just had a life of suffering and was killed purely so
Do you-
that I could eat a burger.
Do you have to take supplements?
All your nutrients come from plants, but that's a how problem, right? And I can help with the how problem. I've got something I can give you to help. But if you're against this, now that you've seen what happens, because before you may not have known,
Yeah.
you're now accountable for your actions, right? And even if your parents are buying something
Yeah.
or products, you can then educate your parents. You can tell them. You
I mean, I
can say,
think from now on, I don't know if I'd. I mean, obviously, I don't. I try and cut it out as much as possible in my diet, I'd say.
if you were the victim, so if you were that pig going into the gas chamber, and if someone on the outside said, "I'll try and cut out animal products," would you think that's good enough, or would you say, "I'm just going to stop paying for this right now"? Because it's an injustice, right? So if we take another injustice like racism,
Yeah.
would we say, "I'm just going to be racist on a Monday and cut out it the rest of the week," or would you say, "No, I'm against it, so I'm just going to stop"?
I mean, I try and cut it out as fully then, but.
It's
No,
interesting.
like-
It's interesting
yeah,
to think
but-
about, right? Because you probably never thought about this before.
Yeah, I mean,
Because then you've got like your own, what you can control with your money, and then you've got your family at home, which I understand. And the only thing I would recommend to like go home and be like, "Look, like guys, have you seen this? Sit down and I'll give you a card. Watch this documentary. Have a look at the truth." Because if I had a child and someone come to me, I'd sit down with them and be like, "Oh my gosh, yeah, like we don't have to do this. We don't have to pay for this." Because like you said, nothing can justify it. So yeah, and your
Yeah.
family might feel the same as well. And just remember, like, if they brought a dog home, I'm sure you'd probably go, "Nah, can't eat that." Yeah. But I really appreciate you
Yeah.
sitting down and talking to me, because it's like it's brave
how
coming
many
over.
people do you get coming over here? Many or not?
So it depends. So this morning we had like loads at once, and then we had like maybe an hour of no one. And you get people like look and walk past and stuff like that. Yeah, it all depends who's around, who wants to chat. But yeah, but thank you so
definitely changed
much.
my mind today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sitting down. I really appreciate your time. Have a good rest of your day.
Yeah, you too.
Oh, thank you so much, man.
He was really nice for coming over. He was really brave. I felt like I was a little bit all over the place in that conversation, but I just wanted to like get the footage in and explain. And I haven't really had someone like him before. You usually get like the really triggered people, the ones who are like, "Oh my gosh," but he was very like different. I can't even explain it, but he was a really nice guy, and he said, "You changed my mind on it, so you never know, it might have been the first seed planted in his head." So yeah.
I've been thinking about it.